All right, I think it's safe to say that this is the year. This is the year that we get the Kyle Pitts breakout that we've been waiting for since the end of his rookie season. Everything is lined up in his favor for a breakout 2024. First of all, he's fully healthy now, 2 years removed from the MCL injury that he suffered in November of 2022, which is very similar to ACL injuries where players don't fully return to pre-injury production numbers until that second season. We see it all the time with running backs, and Kyle Pitts is no different, and it explains a lot in regards to a down 2023 season. Which, speaking of a down 2023, statistically it was rough when looking at just his counting stats, but analytically, Pitts continues to operate within elite tight end ranges that just scream breakout season. I mean, he was first in route participation among all tight ends last year, first in snap percentage out wide, third in snap percentage in the slot, second in yards per reception, first in average depth of target, first in air yards market share, and here's the real kicker, last in catchable pass rate, meaning he saw the fewest number of targets that were deemed catchable among all tight ends last year. So he was doing all of that while injured, while catching passes from Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke in a garbage Arthur Smith offense. Imagine what he's going to do fully healthy with Kirk Cousins, one of the most accurate passers in the league over the last few years, in a brand new McVay-style offense under Zach Robinson. Oh, and he is still just 23 years old despite entering his 4th year in the league. The stage is completely set for Kyle Pitts to have his breakout season that everyone has been hoping for, not just by returning to his 2021 rookie form, but an actual difference-making positional advantage league winner. And the best part is, since everyone's been burned by him for 2 years in a row, a lot of people have really lowered his dynasty value to the point to where he's the tight end 5 on Keep Trade Cut and the tight end 7 in July DLF ADP. And when you look at recent trades for Pitts in the Trade Finder, you get trades like Pitts for Rashee Rice and DeAndre Hopkins, Pitts for Tony Pollard straight up, Pitts for Trey Benson and Pat Freiermuth, 2 seconds for Kyle Pitts. There are trades everywhere where Pitts can be found for depressed prices because people have been burned for multiple years in a row now. That is incredible value for a player that can easily finish as the tight end 1 overall in fantasy this year. And I personally have Kyle Pitts still ranked as a top 3 dynasty tight end over Brock Bowers, Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson. And I think that there's still an argument for Kyle Pitts versus Trey McBride. I would not at all be shocked if Pitts found his way back to the top of dynasty tight end rankings by the end of this year because of a massive 2024 breakout season. But speaking of massive breakout seasons, nobody in fantasy makes more sense for a massively explosive 2024 campaign than Dolphins running back Javon Achane, the absolute lightning in a bottle and potential RB1 in this high caliber Miami offense. To recap what Javon Achane did last year, he played 9 games in which he played at least 40% of snaps, and in those 9 games averaged 14 touches, 110 total yards, 1.2 total touchdowns per game, 20.9 fantasy points per game, which would have made him the RB3 on the season last year behind only Kyron Williams and Christian McCaffrey. Even if you remove the 50 bomb that he dropped in week 3, he still averaged 17 points per game in his other 8 games, which would have been RB7 last year, sandwiched between Breece Hall and Jahmyr Gibbs. That is the type of game-breaking ability that Javon Achane brought as a rookie in 2023. Just imagine what he's going to do in 2024 and beyond. And just to take this one step further, there are 2 key tweets that I've seen on Twitter that really drive home the upside for Javon Achane in year 2. The first is from Ryan Heath over at fantasypoints.com, who found that since 2014, only 7 rookie running backs drafted between rounds 1 through 3 of the NFL draft outperformed their weighted opportunities per game by 2.5 PPR fantasy points per game. Achane is the only rookie from last year to do it, and minus J.K. Dobbins missing his entire sophomore season with an ACL injury, the other 5 running backs all went on to have volume increases in year 2, and 4 out of 5 averaged 20 PPR points per game in year 2. The only one who didn't do that was 2016 Todd Gurley in a Jeff Fisher offense, who we know also went on to have multiple 25-plus point per game seasons after Jeff Fisher was fired in a Shanahan-McVay-style offense. Ryan also pointed out that all 5 of these running backs experienced regression in their efficiency from year 1 to year 2, but the increases in volume more than made up for the losses of efficiency. And then we have a second tweet from fellow YouTuber Ron Stewart, who again found that Achane is one of 7 rookie running backs since 2009 to hit 3+ fantasy points over expectation. The other 6 all went on to post 20+ fantasy points per game seasons in year 2, and he also notes that Achane posted the highest fantasy points over expectation season by any rookie running back since 2009. So if we expect Javon Achane to follow suit with recent history over the last 10 to 15 years, he is in for an absolutely bonkers 2024 season. The only thing that can possibly stop him would really just be injury, which was his primary issue last year. But in college, Achane played 30 out of a possible 34 games over his career, and we have seen plenty of running backs struggle with injuries in one season and then play most of, if not an entire season right after that. It's just the nature of the running back position in the NFL. I legitimately believe that Achane has an argument to be a top 5 dynasty running back right now. I don't think that he's there yet, but there's an argument for it based on age and absolute explosive ability. I would already take him over Travis Etienne, Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, and Kenneth Walker in Dynasty, just to name a few, and I think that the debates really begin at Jonathan Taylor, who is my RB5 in Dynasty. But if Achane has this breakout 2024 season, I would venture to guess that he jumps Jonathan Taylor, jumps Christian McCaffrey due to age, and probably jumps Jahmyr Gibbs, making him a top 3 Dynasty running back that we're now debating him versus Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall. I also want to give an honorable mention to Jaylen Wright, who I've been trying to scoop up in every single rookie draft and include as a piece in trades where I couldn't get him in rookie drafts. Wright is just such a perfect fit for this Dolphins offense as the replacement for Raheem Mostert, as the bigger body complement to Achane, but he himself also offers sub 4.4 speed, elusiveness, receiving ability to be a full 3-down back if Achane's injuries persist. It may not be until 2025 that Wright sees significant snaps or production, but he has been a massive target of mine all summer and a skyrocketer up my dynasty rankings. All right, now to move over to the wide receiver position, I've had this take in my head for a few weeks now, and I've never really had the courage to say it until today. Nico Collins is a top 10 dynasty wide receiver. I would take Nico over Brandon Ayuk, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Tyreek Hill, and I am really debating Nico versus Malik Neighbors and Nico versus Garrett Wilson, but due to age, upside, pedigree even still, I still lean the other two, but it is super close considering what Nico did last year. And I know that Justin just talked about Nico in a recent video, and I'm just going to repeat what he said. Nico's 2023 season was not a fluke. 80 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 8 touchdowns in 15 games played. That is 90 receptions for almost 1,500 yards and 9 touchdowns over a full 17-game season, which is more or less identical to the seasons that Puka Nacua and A.J. Brown just had as top 5 fantasy wide receivers. And then you look at all of the analytics from last year that he posted. His reception perception numbers weren't just elite, they were out of this world. He was 5th in success rate versus man, right there with CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. He was 12th in success rate versus double coverage among qualified receivers around Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua, and he was 3rd in success rate versus press coverage ahead of Lamb, Adams, and A.J. Brown, and behind only Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk. His worst success rate was against zone, but even that was an 80% success rate, which is right next to Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs. When you look at his per route and per reception stats, they were also elite. He was 2nd in the league in yards per route run behind only Tyreek Hill, 7th in targets per route run up there with Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown, 3rd in yards after catch per reception, and he was the 4th highest graded receiver according to Pro Football Focus, tied with Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. And then this tweet just really hit me from Kyle Vorchak over at Roto World, saying that Nico Collins' 3.1 yards per route run and 90.6 PFF grade would have been career highs for Stephon Diggs, and Nico did that in year 3 in the NFL. Nico Collins is 100% the best receiver on the Texans right now. There is no question in my mind that that isn't true. And if CJ Stroud takes that second-year leap that we all expect him to, there is a world where Nico Collins is a perennial 1,400 to 1,500 yard guy, 10 plus touchdowns for the next 3 to 4 years, a la AJ Brown moving to get Jalen Hurts or Stephon Diggs himself moving over to get Josh Allen. That is the realm that Nico Collins has entered after what he did last year and how that projects forward. He is a top 10 Dynasty wide receiver, and to be able to buy him for anything less than that is absolutely stealing. And then to wrap things all up, another wide receiver quickly rising up my rankings and has been for the past few months since being drafted this year is Patriots wide receiver Javon Baker. The drumbeat coming out of minicamp and training camp for Baker this summer has been consistently very loud, and it just feels like he has the makings of being this year's Puka Nacua or Amon-Ra St. Brown as that day 3 pick who quickly shows us that he should not have been drafted that late. All we really have to go off of for Baker is just what he did in college, which he started out at Alabama in 2020, but after 2 years with minimal playing time behind Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jameson Williams, and John Mechie, Baker transferred to UCF, where he had a good breakout season in 2022, and then a big year in 2023 with over 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns on 52 receptions. He peaked at over 3 yards per team pass attempt, which he's one of only 5 receivers to hit that mark in this class, 2 of which were Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. He is a prototypical sized X receiver at 6'1", 202 pounds. He ran a mid 4.5, posted a 37-inch vertical. He is a very good route runner. He can make contested catches and highlight reel catches along the boundaries. And now he gets an opportunity to fight for the wide receiver 1 role on a very young offense with a brand new rookie quarterback. The expectation is that Jalen Polk is going to get that role, but anything can happen here, and Baker has every opportunity to claim that role too. KJ Osborne has even comped him to George Pickens. I've heard Michael Gallup's name as a comparison. I've heard Rashee Rice's name in terms of rawness and play style coming into the NFL, and even the massive upside comp of Dez Bryant if everything goes perfectly. Like Jaylen Wright, Javon Baker has been a target for me in all of my rookie drafts this year and continues to be a trade target where I didn't land him in drafts. I would love to get him for a third or a couple thirds, but if I have an extra second or two to play with, I will toss one over for Javon Baker and a third or something along those lines, because that should be more than enough to pull him away from whoever drafted him. Again, I would not be shocked if we're talking about Baker after the season the way we were talking about Jahan Dotson or Terry McLaurin or George Pickens even after their rookie seasons. A high upside outside receiver who is poised for a year 2 breakout, and that is why I'm trying to buy in right now.